happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. It's what Vegas sells. But they're not really prepared for the fallout of that motto.
We got an emergency situation here.
Vegas tends to draw stranger injuries, stranger experiences.
This is a magic trick gone horribly wrong.
If you would have made me a bet that said, TJ, do this naked, I would have done it. It was that easy of a trick for me.
That's when I started to get really afraid.
I was saying to myself, I can't believe I'm gonna die on a cold piece of cement.
People don't lay there and just die. They want to fight.
People come here and end up in our ambulance.
Anybody who comes to our trauma center, they're getting the best last chance that they have on this planet.
Fire medical.
Everybody clear. 911, what is your emergency?
Everyone knows the Vegas Strip with all its glitz and glamour. But one of the wildest spots in Sin City is in the old part of town. Tons of tourists enticed by gambling, G-strings, cheap drinks, and freak shows.
Fremont Street is absolutely chaotic all the time. You have 1,000 people or more passing through those streets. It's a very crazy nightlife. It's absolutely insane.
It's unlike any other place. You've got 4 city blocks of a party going on, so whatever you want, there it is. If you don't like what you see, walk a block away, you'll see something completely different. And that's fun. I've seen a few stories, I can tell you that, but the one with the magician and the nail, it tops it off. It really does.
Gather round. What you're gonna see will astound.
I'm a little bit magician, little bit illusionist, a little bit freak show artist.
It's Friday, a wild night in Vegas like any other.
Feel that, that's sharp, that's real. Careful.
Jesse Casease is a regular on Fremont Street. His nail trick wows the crowds there night after night.
It is one of the most dangerous tricks that I perform other than fire eating.
It's called the Devil's Nail.
You're taking a 6-inch nail and having someone else hide it. I really don't know where that nail is until I turn around.
Are you ready?
Ooh. I had not seen that nail trick before. That's why I was so excited to see it. Like, I was front row. Okay, let's watch this.
Jesse definitely has a flair for the dramatic. I appreciate that one a little more. I like all magic, but he definitely has a style to his own.
Now we're down to 2. The odds are pretty good, right? 50-50?
It's not easy in Vegas, especially, to keep the attention span of, drunk people.
Nice. Bunch of characters in Vegas, am I right?
He works very hard on what he does, and he puts his health on the line a lot for people's entertainment. And sometimes that's not appreciated, and at other times it is.
Actually, this is just luck so far. I mean, I'm gonna step on this one. No, this one.
A lot of people have speculated that I memorize how the cups are placed. That's not it. It's something completely different that I use.
You ready?
Jesse won't reveal his secrets, but what happened on this night is even more of a mystery.
What happened next, I can't really describe it any other way other than excruciating.
1, 2, 3.
Smash! And all he said was, I chose wrong. I couldn't believe it. I was out of my mind, like, oh, he got it wrong.
When it went all the way through my foot, I didn't even feel it because it happened so fast. It was like getting your ears pierced. I stood there for a minute, actually still talking to the audience. I'm a very strange person when it comes to pain. I just enjoy pain. However, this was something that wasn't enjoyable. The moment that I felt the pain was when I stepped back forward and stepped back on it. I don't recommend anyone at home doing it, okay? It was bad. It was bad. It's excruciating having a foreign body that is 6 inches long and literally about as big around as my pinky go through my foot. It was horrible, honestly. It was one of the worst pains I felt in my life. messed up thing about it was the entire audience were thinking it was part of the trick.
Get out of here, all right?
And my buddy came running up. He's one of the pirates out there on Fremont Street. As he goes, guys, we're gonna have to call the show right now.
And the crowd around Jesse, you know, they were trying to get him to pull the nail out of his foot.
That's a little morbid, but I guess they're trying to get their entertainment value as well. But that's Fremont Street. I'm looking around, all the other crowds looking right at him like, ready, game on, the show's just started.
Yank you right out.
And stopped him from pulling this nail out of his foot. That would have been a very bad mistake.
Everything's gonna be all right.
I was just going, okay, there's a nail in my foot, I gotta get it out. I had actually yanked on it 2 or 3 times trying to get it out of my foot, because I didn't really realize at that point in time that it was all the way through and all the way out the top. I had called my wife. Hey, hon, I stepped on the nail. She goes, no, you didn't. Well, honey, I stepped on the nail. It's through my foot right now. I'm going to be going to the hospital. And she goes, okay, I'll be there in a minute. Don't take an ambulance, though. Okay?
Chris disagrees and calls 911.
Fire medical?
Yeah, we got an emergency situation here in front of Binion's on Fremont Street. It was a performance and it went wrong.
We got a call for what came over as a traumatic injury, and he was in a severe amount of pain.
Every paramedic knows Fremont Street well.
There's always crazy people and crazy stories. You are thinking about every scenario in your head, every possibility.
Finding the victim is like looking for a needle in a haystack.
As we're walking through the crowd, we're looking for anybody. We don't know what this gentleman looks like. We don't know exactly how bad the injury is.
Excuse us, excuse us.
We see the crowd a little bit larger in one certain section of Fremont Street, so we start walking towards that.
And there he is, Jesse the Magician, with a nail through his foot.
You couldn't see a whole lot. We didn't know how far the nail was in. He was definitely in pain.
It's a roofing nail, whatever the big, thick gauge nails were, you know, like this big and thick, and it did not look like you wanted it in your skin at all.
You could see the nail going through the sole of the boot, into the bottom of his foot, and up through the top of his foot. It's a whole lot worse than what I had originally thought, in that he stepped on that nail pretty hard for it to do that. Talked about his act and how it happened. It was a magic trick that just went terribly wrong.
All right. No.
Jesse didn't want to go at all. His main concern was money. Worried about the ambulance bill, worried about the hospital bill.
And I said, no, I really don't want transport. My wife said that she's gonna bring me there. And they looked at me and they're all, seriously, man, you have like a good football field before you can get to anywhere where someone can pick you up in a car. And the paramedic goes, wait, stop. I want to see this. Stand up.
No.
So I started to stand up, and I got just a little bit of pressure on that foot, and things started going black. I came about that close to passing out. And that's when the paramedic said, listen, man, you can go into serious shock at any time, and shock can kill.
Jesse finally agrees to go with the paramedics.
All right, how much does that hurt, man? Scale of 1 to 10.
12.
He was coherent the whole time. He was talking to me and was in a lot of pain, like anybody would be with a nail through their foot.
Dr. Megan Mercer is on duty at the UMC emergency room.
As Jesse came in, everyone was a little bit in shock when you see that, and you're kind of going, oh my goodness.
The first thing they asked me was, are you in construction? And I said, no, I'm a magician. They said, a why is it that you have a nail through your foot and you're a musician? I said, no, a magician. They're all, oh, okay, so this is a magic trick. I said, yes, gone horribly wrong.
Medical director and surgeon Dr. John Fildes is overseeing Jesse's care.
The nail through the foot is most common among construction workers, and it really was kind of novel to see that it was a magician who came in this time with the nail in the foot.
The ambulance had already given him morphine. We always want to be careful not to give a patient too much pain meds because it can cause you to stop breathing.
The team starts with x-rays. Has the nail caused any major internal damage?
The only real nail injuries that we see tend to be the high-powered nail guns, never anything this large or that extreme. And so this could be a foot or limb-threatening injury. There's that risk of bleeding where you have, we'll say the artery is blocked by that object, and if you pull it out, then it will start bleeding.
Think of it like a can of juice, and you only have one hole in it, and you start pouring. It's a slow flow until you crack open that other, side, and then blub, 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 blub. It's the same thing with your body. If you have a puncture wound that goes all the way through your body, however, you can bleed out in a matter of minutes to hours.
He could have a severe fracture that's difficult to mend. He could be permanently disabled, permanent arthritis. He could have an infection that could get so bad that he could lose his foot. And that could change his whole life.
Jesse now faces the possibility that a simple mistake may cost him his foot.
I was terrified, honestly. I couldn't accept that. I just couldn't accept that.
It's a terrifying moment for Vegas street magician Jesse Casease. If doctors at UMC can't save his foot, his career might be over.
Jesse is very lucky that he didn't hit a bone, that he didn't hit an artery, that his tendons seem to be in place, because those are all things that could cause permanent disability in Jesse.
The x-ray results are the good news. The bad news? Removing a 6-inch nail is no easy task.
It required that we cut away the boot and expose the injury and the foreign body so we could see where the nail entered the foot and exited the foot.
So at this point, we do the lidocaine, which is the numbing medicine for the skin. And lidocaine causes a lot of burning sensation because what it's doing is numbing all the nerves around it. So that's initially painful, having a needle put into your open wound. I made sure to prep Jesse saying, this is gonna burn.
The thing I remember most vividly was feeling that drip through my foot, all the way out the bottom.
The skin was tight around the nail, and we had to use a scalpel actually to make a small skin incision above and below and to open the tract up. And that took the binding force of the skin off the nail.
So the next step for Jesse is the fun part, which was how do we get the nail out? This may hurt. We decided the best case scenario would be to get something that could really grip onto the nail, and those were pliers. All right, now's the time. And so we got a good grip on the nail. 3, 2, 1, and I just pulled downwards with a good amount of force.
It's a craft to take these things out. A lot of times you don't want to wiggle this stuff as you pull it out because it'll hurt the tissues around it. So you want to have an actual straight draw and take it back out the track it entered.
Please come out easily. Please don't cause a lot of pain. You don't want to yank it and then just see it tug and then be like, oh no.
It just started pulling down into my foot.
As it starts to slide out of the foot easily, you just have that sigh of relief of like, whew, this went well. Those are very dirty wounds, and so it's always a high risk of having infection. You can get bacteria in your blood, and that can be life-threatening.
He got some antibiotics. Fortunately, there was very little damage inside the foot itself.
Jesse's foot is saved. The show will go on.
I started showing the entire staff magic tricks. They asked me if I was ever going to do the trick again, and I said yes.
Why would Jesse do this trick again after such an ordeal? According to him, his act was sabotaged.
Sabotage is part of the process here.
Behind the scenes, the competitive nature of Fremont is ferocious. There are spots on the street that are better than others, and these people compete fiercely for it.
Hey, that's my trick.
Earlier that day, Jesse claims a stranger warned him to stop performing the trick.
That's your trick?
He told me that he was basically the creator of this trick and that I wasn't allowed to do it and that I had to stop or he was going to have me arrested. I blew it off. The person that sabotaged me knew how the trick worked.
Jesse says the stranger caused the accident, not him.
The devil's nail itself, I can't tell you how it works because that's part of the mystery behind it. Basically, he made it seem like that nail was underneath another cup.
Are you sure?
He took off. I've never seen him again, and I swear if I ever do see him again, I'm going to take his hat off his shoulders. That hurt.
I didn't think you could bounce back from this kind of situation. He bounced back, surprisingly. He's still doing the act. Wow. I wouldn't do it twice. I'm sorry. If I messed up like that one time, that's it. I'm retiring that act. Goodbye, nail.
I still do have that nail somewhere. I told my wife after I did this that I would never lose that nail because I always wanted to keep it as a reminder to not get cocky with what I do.
The people that come to the trauma center are there because they're at risk of losing life or limb. And in his case, if this had gone badly for him, he would be permanently disabled.
I firmly believe that everything that happens to us happens for a reason. Just like stepping on that nail, it happened for a reason. If I didn't step on that nail when I did, who knows, I could have tried to do something bigger that I wasn't ready for and end up, instead of just in the hospital with a nail through my foot, I could have ended up dead. I wanted to be famous, and I still do. I still want to be a great magician. And if it kills me one day, I will be.
Vegas, the party capital of the world. People come here to gamble, celebrate, and misbehave. And when the NBA comes to Vegas, the temp of Sim City rises to a whole new level.
I've worked in clubs in New York, LA, Vegas. I've never seen anything like this in my life.
They brought in, all the hip-hop stars and all the hotels. We'd never had that kind of a crowd that just was rambunctious and partying from, sun up till sundown, and they were still partying till the next day. It was wild.
The private party at the Minx Gentlemen's Club is no exception.
Everybody in that club was from out of town. Most of the girls were not actual working girls with that club. They were brought in from a promotion company from Houston, Texas. These girls, they were flown in specifically for this weekend.
Music and sports stars have taken over the club. One of the biggest is NFL player Adam Pac-Man Jones. He's flush with cash. He just won big at one of the casinos, and he wants to show off.
They were doing something they call Make It Rain. Making it rain is when you take a wad of $1 bills and you throw them in the air and make it rain money. And the more money you make it rain, the more prestige you have with your entourage.
Thousands of dollars in ones flutter down onto the stage. The situation quickly gets out of control.
There was 2 dancers that got into it over the money. One of the sports celebrities ended up trying to break up that fight. Hey, stop that! And actually ended up battering one of the dancers. And that's when the security guards ended up taking him and trying to throw him out the back door to get him out of the club.
But the party doesn't stop, and the night isn't over yet. It's 5 a.m., and bouncer Tommy Urbanski's day is just beginning. He's 15 minutes early. It's his second week on the job.
I was always raised, you're always 15 minutes early to work or you're late. My job was to pretty much run the whole place, make the registers, make sure the bartenders were doing their jobs, the bouncers were doing their jobs, the girls weren't doing nothing dirty or illegal. There was a lot of girls that came in from Houston that I never worked with before that were fighting in the girls' locker room. So I'd gone into there to try to stop that melee, which was kind of difficult because they didn't know me or who I was, so they weren't respecting my authority. So I got a couple doormen there to break that up.
All in a day's work for Tommy. Nothing he can't handle. Until the night goes horribly wrong.
The night manager asked me to step outside and just keep an eye on the front door for a second. So I was watching across the street and I seen a shadow. Saw a silhouette. It was probably about only 15 feet away. And that's when I looked up and saw the muzzle flash. I didn't have a chance to react, and before I know it, it was on the ground. And I started feeling the warm blood coming out. I just couldn't believe it. I was saying to myself, I can't believe I'm gonna die on a cold piece of cement.
Immediately, someone calls 911.
911 emergency, what's going on there? Hello? Okay, all right, take a deep breath, okay, is anyone around you been shot? Yeah? Okay, come in.
What's going on here?
Police and paramedics race to the shooting at the Minx Gentlemen's Club as 911 calls flood the lines.
Did you hear the shot?
Yes, I did.
Did you see who did it?
No, I mean, it's just chaos out here. There's hundreds of people running everywhere.
You couldn't tell how many people had been actually shot at that point because there were just people that had been stepped on trying to get out of the club.
Police secure the area and paramedics rush to the injured. 3 people have been shot. 44-year-old Tommy, a former pro wrestler, is in the most danger.
Hello, sir. My name is Brian. How are you doing here?
I started talking to him. Hey, what's your name? How old are you? Are you in any pain? Any trouble breathing? And he said in a normal conversational voice, I can't move my legs.
Cody, go get the backboard. Give me the neck brace. Get the last one.
So all I was worried about was talking to my wife one more time at the time. And then I lost consciousness, yeah.
All right. You're gonna be all right, sir. You're gonna be all right. No problem.
He was a big guy, so I looked down, tried to figure out where he shot and why he can't move his legs. It was dark, and you really can't see that well. So we have to cut the clothes off and find out where the holes, so to speak, are.
Tommy has been shot 4 times. They need to get him to the hospital immediately. But first, they have to stabilize him.
All right, does this hurt?
So we put a C-collar around his neck and rolled him onto the backboard. He's a big boy, so it took 4 of us to lift him up onto the gurney.
University Medical Center, the only level 1 trauma center in the state, is 5 miles away.
I have a gunshot wound to the chest and possible spinal injury.
Trauma surgeon Dr. Michael Casey and the team are standing by.
1, 2, 3.
We talk about the golden hour in trauma. Within that hour, things have to be done or people will die.
All right, he's having trouble breathing.
1 bullet grazed his shoulder. 1 hit his left wrist. 1 went through the stomach and out through his chest. And 1 went into his back. Tommy's condition is deteriorating rapidly.
He was having problems with breathing, shortness of breath. The lung had collapsed on the one side.
The air escaping from Tommy's collapsed lung is filling his chest cavity, crushing everything inside it, including his heart. They need to deal with that first, or Tommy will go into cardiac arrest.
So we put a chest tube in to reinflate the lung. It's just a big hose, basically, you stick in the chest, and it reinflates the lung and takes the blood out from around the lung. He was in critical condition. He just was having a bad day. He had a hole, basically in the middle part of his chest, and we didn't know where it had gone through. Bullets, although you expect them to travel straight, don't always travel straight. So when you look at someone shot in the chest, you assume the bullet goes straight through. But a bullet can move when it hits the lung, can hit the heart, can hit the liver, can hit anything. So we started with a chest x-ray and an abdomen x-ray looking for the missile.
The x-ray confirms their worst fears. The damage is extensive.
It wasn't just a puncture in the lung. He actually was bleeding in and around his lung from the bullet. There's this big energy ball around the bullet called a cavitary channel, and that causes bruising and damage to the structures around. It's actually a larger pathway going through the body, and that bleeding made it more difficult for him to continue breathing, so we had to intubate him. We had to put a tube and get him on a ventilator to help him breathe. As you start having problems breathing, you become agitated. People don't lay there and just die. They want to fight. And especially a big guy like this who's used to being in charge, wants to be in charge. And unfortunately, this isn't something he has control of. So we had to put him in a medically induced coma to help us get through the process.
Now, Dr. Casey turns his attention to the bullet.
We got him through the CAT scanner. Then we had an identification of the injury. The bullet went through into his spine. And it transected or cut his spine, cut his spinal cord. That's a pretty bad thing.
It was another crazy night in Vegas. He showed up early for work at the strip club and ended with a 9mm bullet lodged in his back. Doctors at University Medical Center have saved Tommy Urbanski's life, but it will never be the same.
Where it was cut made him basically a paraplegic. He's not able to move his lower body. He can't lift his legs, move his legs, can't walk anymore. We had to have him intubated for quite a while. His father had the news before he did.
He is my youngest. When you see your child laying in a bed like this, it's not a happy time in your life. Tommy was just a gentle giant. I mean, he had trouble actually playing football. He didn't want to hurt anybody. He was just a mellow guy, you know?
Tommy finally awakes. His father is at his bedside.
First thing I came to when I saw my dad, I asked him, why'd you let me live?
What do you say when you hear something like that? I said, Tommy, but I still have you.
Doctors decide to leave the bullet lodged in Tommy's spine.
Going after the bullet doesn't change the outcome. Like in the Westerns, we see people shot, they dig the bullet out and they'd instantly get better. It's not true. If you go after the bullet, you'll damage more things getting it out.
Strange how one simple act has such devastating consequences. Weeks after the shooting, police finally find out why the shots were fired.
The threat was made against Aaron Cudworth. He was the other security guard that actually escorted the sports celebrity out the back door. Out back, threats were made against Aaron Cudworth, saying that he was going to kill him. Thomas Urbanski wasn't even there when all that happened.
Tommy was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
What had transpired inside was 2 hours earlier. After the fight, after everything, I came in.
The gunman is 32-year-old Arvin Edwards. Police say Pac-Man met with Edwards after being ejected from the club. Edwards pleads guilty to attempted murder. He gets 4 to 10 years.
He was actually pimping girls down here in Las Vegas. He was here for the NBA week. He actually had a tie with the IRC, which is the International Robbing Crew, a big gang in Atlanta.
I kind of felt sorry for his family, really. You know, I mean, I know his grandmother raised him, and he was just a stupid young kid with too much money.
While Pac-Man Jones didn't pull the trigger, Tommy and the other guards sue him for inciting the attack. They're awarded $12.4 million in damages. To date, Tommy has received $40,000.
It's a running joke between me and my lawyer, because with interest, it's almost about $18 million. I've collected less money that I could just barely about pay for this wheelchair. That's how much I've collected from Pac-Man Jones.
It hasn't been easy, but Tommy has begun to regain control of his life.
I hit the gym as much as I can, and I'm staying at it. I was a wrestler before. I used to get high from the gym, and I need that. I'm a guitar player, and so I knew I wasn't going to walk again, so playing the guitar again was everything to me.
He now performs in Vegas with his own band 4 Bullets Later.
So I live to do. I love my music. If I'm playing, my pain's gone. I'm happy.
The best goal we have for any of our patients here is to get them back to a normal, functional life. He'll always be a paraplegic, but I'm happy that he's completely functional and he's able to get around, do his own life, and do the things he wants to do.
You gotta stop feeling sorry for yourself and get to work, you know, if you're gonna have any kind of life. I am gonna walk again in my lifetime, be it by myself or hopefully a little bit of science and maybe a little bit of miracle. The next couple of years will mix together. Maybe a lot of us will be walking again. That's what I'm hoping for.
It's the entertainment capital of the world. If it's big, spectacular, and special, it's in Las Vegas.
This is definitely one of the hottest places to come in the country, so you get to see all kinds of different things going on here. Anytime there's a big event, you have to have medical coverage.
Because things can go spectacularly wrong.
Anytime I ever want to do overtime, I usually work for the special events division. Kind of a cool gig.
Especially when a hometown hero, the king of dirt, is the headliner.
When people think BMX and they think Vegas, they think TJ Lavin.
Born and raised in Las Vegas, TJ Lavin has done it all on a bike.
TJ was pretty much the pioneer of freestyle BMX dirt jumping. He pushed it to the next level by doing tricks that nobody else was doing.
This is what he does. He's a thrill seeker. First stitches at 9 months. First broken arm at 5. Never looked back.
When you ride BMX, if you don't crash, you're not trying hard enough. That's something I always try to tell the kids. And if you stay in your comfort zone, you're not going to progress like the rest of the riders. So if you're trying something and you crash, as long as you are comfortable crashing, as weird as that sounds, knowing that you can tumble out of it and get off the bike as best you can.
It's not a sport for the faint-hearted.
They're literally taking their bicycles and spinning them around and doing all kinds of crazy stuff on them, so you could see the possibility for an injury.
There's so many calculations involved, and if you miss it, you're hitting the ground. It was the Do Tour Championships, like the final stop of the Do Action Sports Tour. We were in the Hard Rock parking lot where the dirt jumps were built, and there was bleachers full of the fans. They were watching. It's just such a crazy, crazy incident just to goosebumps just thinking about it. Just silenced the crowd and nobody moved.
Sin City, show some love for TJ Lavin!
It was at the end of the night because I had just told my partner, like, hey, you know, this is the last guy. So it's always been an EMS thing, you know. Wait, you know, don't pack stuff up. Don't curse yourself. I was standing right there, full view, and it looked like he came down on his head pretty hard. It was pretty scary.
Something about the way he fell and the noise, it was a scary moment for everyone. His eyes were closed and then rolled back, and, you know, everyone's saying, "Wake up, TJ, wake up."
I just figured he was going to get up. He always gets up. And then he didn't get up, and he didn't get up, and he didn't get up.
He was actually having a seizure. He was in convulsions. When you convulse after a head injury, it can be an ominous sign. He just stopped seizing by the time We were getting him on the board. We put a collar on him, put him on our backboard, and then we got him on the gurney.
Paramedics alert UMC Trauma Center and give them their ETA.
We knew we were getting a rider that had fallen a distance and was unconscious and unresponsive in the field.
We started an IV on him. We had him on oxygen. My main thing was to make sure that he was protecting his airway, and I kind of kept an eye on that. I took his blood pressure quite a few times.
I was just watching what the medics were doing. People were calling me on the phone. Cars were on the side of us. His friends were following us in the van, and you know, it was just kind of a whirlwind.
I just kept texting her, texting her, texting her, and he just didn't wake up.
Got TJ to UMC Trauma Center within 9 minutes.
Dr. Michael Casey and the trauma team are ready as the ambulance pulls in.
He was not speaking and not conscious.
TJ, can you hear me?
Get ready to intubate now.
We can reduce things that injure the brain. We make sure he gets oxygen. Thanks. So we had to put a tube in to help him breathe.
Assessing his injuries is their #1 priority. He needs a full body scan before they can go any further.
We were always worried about cervical spine or the neck injury because he took a big fall. Worried about the rest of his body. He can't tell me because he's not acting right and he's not conscious. You may not see a broken bone on a CAT scan, but the ligaments that hold the bones together could be damaged. If you move them, you can make them paralyzed at that point.
The news is not good. The scan confirms what doctors already suspect.
TJ had a very severe brain injury. He had an active bleeding source in the brain, and he had edema, which is the swelling of the brain tissue itself, and all of that lends itself to being potentially fatal.
Neurosurgeon Dr. Stuart Kaplan must assess how severe the bleeding and swelling is and whether they have to operate.
The CAT scan showed a small amount of hemorrhage, but nothing so significant as to require surgery. In other words, an open surgery, what they call a craniotomy, which means remove a portion of the skull, remove a blood clot. So nothing so significant as that.
Instead, he decides to monitor TJ's brain.
We place a fiber optic catheter we place right on the surface of the brain, and it measures the pressure of the brain, like a blood pressure cuff of the arm.
Think of the brain as being inside of a fixed box. The brain swells, it can't get out of the box. So it pushes down onto the spinal cord and you herniate, and the brain kills itself. It shuts off the blood supply and the brain dies.
TJ is placed in the ICU. His chances of surviving are 50-50. All anyone can do is wait. The next morning, the pressure in TJ's brain is unchanged. Even if he survives, his brain could be permanently damaged.
I never wanted him alone. So somebody was with him 24/7.
On the third day, the pressure finally goes down.
His swelling had come under control, so then it was just time to let him heal and to give him time to let his brain heal.
TJ has survived, but he remains in a coma, hooked up to a feeding tube, a respirator, and a catheter. Will TJ wake up? And if he does, will he be the same?
You don't know what the brain's done. So you don't know what that pattern of injury is going to be, whether he forgets 3rd grade, whether he can't say the word salad. You don't have a clue. You hope that he goes back to being himself and being normal.
They don't tell you much because they really don't know enough about the brain. They don't know how far you're going to come back. That's all they kept saying to me. Well, we can't give you a timeline.
That was the hardest part, is just seeing him like that and then not being able to do anything. Well, I mean, he could wake up in the next 2 minutes or the next 2 years.
There's also another worry. Blood clots.
Think about taking a long flight where you can't move for 12 hours. People get blood clots in flights. Think about him laying in a bed without moving. High risk for blood clots.
The days begin to take their toll.
Started to come unglued just a little bit, and I started to panic.
It's been a week, and TJ Lavin remains in a coma with a serious brain injury. While they wait, doctors deal with the other injuries he suffered in the crash.
He had a wrist injury and he had a clavicle fracture. That's his livelihood. That's how he was able to do all those amazing things on a bike that he did, and why he was asleep, they got fixed.
Still, TJ shows no signs of regaining consciousness.
It's hard because we're so used to our friends crashing, and then you get up, you get better. That's normally the routine, but there was no sign of him getting better.
Day after day, hoping for something. And then, a sign.
We always do this thing where we like squeeze each other's hands like, I love you, and then the other person says, you know, love you more. There was a moment where I squeezed his hand like that and he squeezed it back. It was a pretty intense moment because that's just something that we've always done together, and he didn't wake up, but when he squeezed my hand, I thought, man, okay, he's in there.
TJ's condition is upgraded from critical to serious. Doctors remove his breathing and feeding tubes. And then, a setback. He develops pneumonia, a common problem for patients with breathing tubes.
We have vocal cords that close flat, and you put a tube in it, holds them open so bacteria can get down inside there. And bacteria loves warm mucus. So the things you normally cough are now trapped between that tube and your lungs. If it's not treated aggressively and it's not treated appropriately, people will die from pneumonia.
That was something that got everyone very scared again, because I thought, oh my gosh, you know, he's recovering and now he has pneumonia and it's really dangerous. So that was extremely scary situation. Luckily, they got to it very quickly.
Every day, we're looking for pneumonia. The nurses are great about cleaning the teeth, sucking out all the secretions, making sure things are done well.
We tried to talk to him every day, all day. We played music for him from the very beginning. We played music for him because they said that was good.
Although he's moving and there are signs he's in there, TJ has not opened his eyes.
After the 10th day, that's when I started to just completely break down. And I thought, oh my God, if he doesn't wake up today, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Finally, something gets TJ's attention.
What's up, man?
We have a friend, his name's Tony. He's from Bulgaria, so very thick accent, just a very distinct voice. And for some reason, his voice triggered something in TJ, and he started to come to.
I was like, Tony, how you going, mate? Like, instantly. Him and I have that banter together. He's the reason, like, that I instantly needed to wake up and talk to him because I didn't see him for a minute. It was crazy. All of my senses were really bad. I had double vision. I could hear, but that's about it. My first thought of waking up was, man, this is prison. Get me out of here. I tried to get up, and I fell right away. I crashed in the hospital room floor, and everybody's like, TJ, and I was like, no, I'm cool.
It was pretty amazing. Just, you know, I walked in there, and he's sitting on a chair, and he just looks up, and he just smiles, and I just started crying. I just couldn't believe it. I was so happy.
And I went in the bathroom, and my friend Reed Johnson, he's a baseball player, he came in there with me, and he held my hand while it held my piece. And he's like, TJ, tell your friends that don't wear helmets that it's a lot cooler to wear a helmet than it is to have your best friend holding your piece while you're taking a piss. So I'll never forget that. That's pretty funny.
A month after the horrific bike crash, the King of Dirt leaves UMC and faces a long road to recovery and rehab.
They taught him how to read. They taught him the whole thought process, how to tie his shoes. They taught him money. They got him walking again. I've never seen anybody so determined to get better.
I mean, it's crazy how you have to relearn a lot of things. I have a lot of different things that I do, and like one of them is playing piano, and I could remember some of the songs and remember how to play that and remember how to play this.
When he started playing the piano, I actually started crying then. I had to leave. I walked away and was bawling my head off because it was like he was back, but he wasn't. But there was hope.
One thing that's still up in the air. Why did the BMX superstar crash on a trick he could do in his sleep? What went wrong?
I'd had some super weird feelings going into that contest, and I even called my mom and I was like, I think this is gonna be my last contest, I'm over it. And the day before, I had a good friend of mine take a very hard slam, and it was the hardest crash I've ever seen in my life, and it really scared me.
He'd called the ambulance and held him till the ambulance got there, and then the TJ went to the hospital and he met all the doctors and nurses the night before.
His friend was actually in a coma.
I felt very responsible for it almost. I was like, man, I shouldn't have let that kid ride those jumps.
You know, coming into the competition the next day, he realistically should have pulled out. He hadn't got any sleep. You know, he was very upset about his friends.
When it came time to doing his run in the contest, that's when it really showed that his head wasn't in the game.
If you would have made me a bet that said, TJ, do this naked, I would have done it, no problem. It was that easy of a trick for me.
The impact and the way he hit, it could have killed someone, but I know that he's so tough and he's such a fighter.
I told him he couldn't ride because of his injuries and so forth. And he says, okay, well, instantly out of the hospital, he's back riding. It's hard to keep someone like him from doing things.
He's just as anxious and energized as ever. Definitely made a full recovery. We're very lucky.
Changed my life for sure. I'm definitely not gonna be a competitive dude anymore. I'm way more chill, and I don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff, so.
He's taken so many slams over the years, hard ones, and I don't know if that's something that you can credit to how tough he is and how he managed to pull this one off and recover, but it was definitely close. BMX is crazy, the level the sport's progressing every year, and safety gear finally is something that's finally becoming an issue. TJ has made a big push to make being safe cool. The tragic injury that he had and how close he came is what makes other people realize what could happen to them as well.
I want to thank the doctor that fixed my wrist because it's good to go. Look at that thing. It's sweet. Thank you for keeping the swelling down on my head too. I appreciate it. It would have been a sick story if I would have died, but I'm glad I'm here.
We get some of the craziest calls. People get ran over on the strip, we get drunks, we get cars into buildings.
People going and pushing themselves too far, making some poor decisions. 911 is a number that's dialed quite often.
All of a sudden, he was coming fast.
We got to the pool around 10:30. Had made some plans with a couple girls, Remember getting in the car, and that's it.
His lower legs were basically cooked.
And he said, I don't think he's gonna live.
911. Car just came through the restaurant window.
The whole restaurant shook.
These people under a car.
You could smell the carnage. It was devastating.
Oh my God, we've been hit by terrorists.
Fire medical.
Jesus.
911, what is your emergency?
The days are just as hot as the nights in Vegas. Nothing is hotter than the pool parties on the Strip.
Pool parties are a huge thing out here in Vegas, especially in the summertime. It gets 100 to 110 out here. And some of the best DJs come out and they perform, and it's just like a nightclub, but you can hop into the pool.
It gets pretty wild. It's when the pools are packed and the pool parties are happening.
Just where Vegas native George Hernandez plans to drown his sorrows. He lost his job a few months ago. Now works as a server on the Strip to make ends meet. And a few weeks ago, his girlfriend moved out.
I was with her for 4 years. So I found myself just kind of lost, clouded, broken.
George's party started 6 days ago. His roommate and best friend says it's showing no signs of slowing down.
He was upset about his past relationship, and he was gonna put it all behind him and that he's gonna go celebrate.
We got to the pool around 10:30. I remember ordering a Jack and Coke, just getting settled in. I had made some plans with a couple girls that I was gonna go out with that night. You know?
It's a scorcher. 118 degrees in the shade. He's in the pool pretty much all day. The drinks just keep on coming.
Nothing to eat, really no water. The night before, maybe 5 hours of sleep.
By late afternoon, one of George's buddies gives him a ride home.
Remember getting in the car. Remember stepping in there. And that's it.
911, police, fire, medical.
That call came in as a smoke investigation call. Often they don't pan out to be anything major. It's usually someone barbecuing or something minor. We saw the column of smoke and realized that this was probably more than just a smoke investigation. When we arrived on scene, we had a vehicle that was fully involved.
You never know what's in a vehicle. We want to do a quick assessment, make sure no one is caught in the car or around the car.
The car is empty, but on the road 10 feet away is a body. It's George. It's a horrendous sight.
He was severely burned. His body was in shock. He wasn't responding to us.
Hey, buddy, are you there?
Almost every part of George's body is burned.
He was definitely one of the most severe burn patients that I've seen. It's a bad blistering burn. And often the skin is actually falling off, so the patient's extremely slippery.
The amount of fire that was in that car, no way you survive if you stayed in that car. He definitely would have died.
Now, it's up to Clark County Fire Department paramedics to keep him alive.
Take some big breaths of this, okay?
Priority on any burn patient is always going to be their airway. When you're in a burning situation, you're inhaling those hot fire gases, and they're extremely hazardous to your airway. Our big effort on these calls is to load and go.
If George is going to survive, University Medical Center is his best chance. UMC has the only burn center in the state.
As I'm coming towards the house, an ambulance drives right past me. I saw that huge black cloud of smoke, and I instantly knew that it was George. By the time I got to where my house was, the whole time screaming, yelling for George, the person that actually took him home, ironically, his name was George. And when I said George, he popped up. The police officers were trying to talk to him, and he wasn't responding. He wasn't talking to them at all. But when I came over there, I asked him what happened.
It's a bizarre, almost unbelievable tale.
George passed out in the car. The driver, he wanted to listen to music and smoke a cigarette. He had the AC running, and he fell asleep. Now, when he fell asleep, his foot hit the gas. He was revving up the engine on the hottest day of the year for over an hour in park.
The hot, flooded engine catches fire.
George, the other person, just got out the car. Never once waking George up or telling George to get out the car. He was just pretty much, I think, in shock. And then it blew. that made George come to. The neighbors told me that he crawled out the front window of the car and fell parallel to the front tires. A random sandwich delivery guy saw him and just pulled him across the street.
How could his best friend ever survive that blaze?
The firefighter told me that I need to get to UMC Trauma and get his family there immediately.
No, they got him out. They got him out.
We have a patient coming in with severe burns.
In the trauma unit, Dr. Terry Lewis is standing by.
25-year-old male patient, second and third degree burns, approximately 80% of the body.
On 3, 1, 2, 3.
His lower legs were burnt with totally incinerated skin hanging from bone and muscle.
3rd degree burns.
So it was basically cooked.
This is a 4th degree burn.
George?
A burn right through the tissue, down to the muscle or bone.
Without any skin, the evaporative loss from your body is massive. And we have to really aggressively resuscitate patients with IV fluids when they first come in. But you have to find this balance in there because a lot of times with trauma patients, you also have concomitant pulmonary injuries, and you can over-resuscitate those patients, and you can make their lungs wet and soggy, and it's very difficult to ventilate them. So, you know, it's one of those Goldilocks principles where it's not too much and not too little, but you got to be right at the right spot. And if you're not, you know, there can be catastrophic outcomes for your patient.
Wounds are scrubbed, and George is moved to intensive care in the burn unit. There, he's sedated to cope with the pain. George will be monitored hourly. The next 48 are critical.
People burnt that bad, you know, don't make it to the hospital. Everybody expected him to die.
Mrs. Morales, I'm Dr. Lewis. I'm his attending physician.
The doctor, he told me, your son, he can die right away. I have to tell you this because he's very, 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 very bad.
The doctors had said that he had 80% burns, and I guess normally anything over 60%.
As George Hernandez clings to life in the burn unit of UMC, news of the car explosion has everyone wondering how anyone could survive.
There was one guy who apparently was on fire in the street, and he was put in an ambulance. You know, it doesn't look positive for him.
Firefighters and police remain on the scene for hours. The fire was so intense, it engulfed another car and burned the number on George's house. At the hospital, his mother asks God for a miracle.
The priest, he came and he prayed and he told me, you have to be strong and have just faith.
I've never been so scared in my life because we did everything together, everything.
Miraculously, George survives the critical first 48 hours.
Many people in his situation, in fact, the majority probably don't survive.
Mommy's here. He was swollen. His head was his face. He was swollen so bad.
His immune system is extremely weak.
The doctors told me he can gonna live, and I said yes, because he's young. You're gonna be okay. You're a strong boy.
His eyes was completely closed the whole time. Oh, man.
He was young and in good health, so he had those things going for him. So we had a chance.
But his burns, especially on his legs, are so severe that infection could still kill him.
Irrigation?
All the burn wounds are dead tissue. As this tissue decays, it is a culture medium for bacteria, an infectious material. We have to get dead tissue away from the body. And that process of debridement can be done a couple of times a week in the operating room with scalpels, taking big portions of skin.
In addition to removing the dead skin, George's dressings are changed and washed twice a day.
I will tell you, having done this for 15 years and seen thousands of trauma patients and burn patients, it's some of the most painful things I've seen patients have to go through.
Day after day for 2 weeks, doctors perform operation after operation, dressing change after dressing change.
It can be noisy in the burn unit or the dressing change room. I mean, it hurts, and patients scream. And infections come and go. The antibiotics that worked last week don't work this week. You have to reculture the wounds because new bugs are growing. Multiple episodes of pneumonia from being on the breathing machine. And so there's a time frame there, which is weeks in length, in which you're continually adjusting and fighting infection. Dressing changes, antibiotics, doing culture, seeing where you're at with trying to keep the infection at bay so he doesn't get septic.
George is still in a coma, and the doctors are losing the battle against the infection in the lower part of his legs.
It became clear to us that there was no coming back. We knew we were facing amputations.
That dead tissue remaining on his body is actually a burden to his ability to try to heal and repair.
I signed the paper. That day was very, very, very hard.
Ready for the bone saw?
Dr. Lewis starts by removing both of George's feet.
Even though we may have thought that we would end up above the knee, you start lower and try to preserve as much as you can, because any tissue that stays alive is available to us to try and reconstruct.
But days later, doctors realize the young man's only chance of survival is to remove both his legs above the knee.
And we want to amputate as quickly and as safely as possible because you'll actually see those patients tend to improve.
It works. George does improve, and he finally wakes up from his coma.
I open my eyes, and I see machines all around me, and I can't move. And I'm asking, where am I? Where am I?
Oh my God.
He has no idea what's happened the last 3 months.
There's somebody in the room and says, you've been in an accident, you're in the hospital.
I was so happy. He's gonna be okay. He's very strong. He can handle this.
He told me he loved me, and then he asked me what happened. I've never been able to lie to George. His mom wanted me to ease him into it, but he would have known.
His best friend, Brandon, will have to break the news to George. All he remembers is being at a pool party at the Palms in Vegas.
And then the next thing you know, you're waking up months later in a hospital, completely wrapped up, no legs. How do you tell somebody that story?
Vegas native George Hernandez has been in a coma for 3 months after nearly burning to death in a fire. His best friend, tells him that to save his life, doctors had to amputate both his legs above the knee.
Man, I'm dreaming, you know? Like, I'm gonna wake up, like, from this. This is a dream. Like, I know this is not happening. Closed my eyes, started to pray.
After months of painful skin grafting, he leaves the hospital in a wheelchair and begins rehab.
Bitterness? Yes. Against the Almighty? Yes, indeed. You know, I did all the why me's and all the what ifs. A lot of days that I cried. I didn't have insurance, so everything I had to do on my own.
Now, how bad is the pinch? Where's pinching?
On my right.
On the right one?
It's a little worse.
Okay.
I let them know that we're gonna be bad boys for life. We're gonna get through this. Just don't worry. Your brother's got you.
Dr. Vikram Chowdhury, a doctor from Munster, Indiana, is so moved by George's story that he gives him prosthetic legs. George walks unaided for the first time since the accident.
Most people with his injuries don't make it. He has to have had an incredible will to survive. Everybody needs a reason to live. In his case, it was his mom.
My son is a miracle.
80% burn.
Wow.
Double leg amp. I'm doing inspirational speaking in churches and juvenile detention centers and high schools, and I'm in the process of writing a book. If it wasn't for the burn unit here in Las Vegas, I wouldn't even had a chance. They put me back together.
And what about the driver who caused the explosion? George doesn't press charges. The driver was here illegally and has since moved back to Mexico.
I should be dead. I should be dead. I should. I am beyond blessed. You know, praise God, as a man, didn't get my manly parts and my butt, you know, and my face didn't get it too bad.
There's a million reasons to come to Vegas. 30 million tourists annually can't be wrong.
We just love coming to Vegas. Outside the Strip, there's a lot of things to see here in Las Vegas. Shopping centers. We love bringing the kids here and enjoy coming here, especially visiting my brother.
Beatriz Guzman's brother, 24-year-old Jose, moved to Vegas from Bakersfield, California 10 years ago and works at a steakhouse on the Strip. This weekend, one of the Guzmans is tying the knot in the wedding capital of the world. And that's all the family needed to get together in Vegas.
We saw my nephew get married. Never thought I would cry at a wedding, but I cried. It was fun. It was a good weekend.
Before the rest of the Guzmans head back to Bakersfield, Jose takes them out for a goodbye lunch.
Our visit was coming to an end. We always, before we leave back home, we always have brunch or lunch with my brother. It was the first time going to Egg and I restaurant. My brother talked about it. He's always thinking of these new restaurants, new places to go eat, and he wants us to try it. So he said, they're really good there, let's go, I want to show Mom.
The strawberry waffles with the whipped cream on top is really good, it's delicious. So I know the kids, everybody will like it. Everybody loves breakfast. The restaurant was really packed inside. So I said, let's go sit outside in the patio.
On the same street as the restaurant, Ryan Stull is driving to work.
I noticed a car 3 or 4 car lengths in front of me, making a lane change, but he was moving too fast. It had bad news written all over it.
It's always waffle.
He overcompensated, hit the median, and went airborne.
We barely got our waters, and we hear the brakes screech. And I turn around and I look, holy crap, he's not gonna stop.
Watch out! I heard my mom say, watch out. And then, bam, it just landed. Who would have thought?
It happened so fast, but I watched the entire thing happen, and there's that one moment of, holy, did this just happen? I didn't even believe it. I couldn't believe my eyes.
I didn't see the car. until I seen it on top of my brother and my sister. I can't. It just happened so fast.
Oh my God.
Everything was just like.
911.
Hi, I'm at Egg and I was here on West of Herod Arville and a car just crashed into us.
Okay. Anybody injured inside the business?
Yes. Yes.
The call came across a normal traffic accident. We didn't think too much of it.
Fire medical. I need an ambulance, please. West Egg and I. Car just came through the restaurant window.
But once we started getting more notes coming in saying that we had people trapped, then our adrenaline started kicking in.
And how many people are injured, do we know? A lot. It looks like maybe someone's under the car, I don't know.
Couldn't believe my eyes. The worst scene that I've ever witnessed.
The car is lodged half inside and half outside the restaurant, and the engine is still running.
The crying, the screaming. I could smell the carnage. It was devastating.
Ryan pulls over to help. The two men inside the car make a run for it.
Bam, my eyes lit up. He was like, all right, this guy's going down. I'm gonna be the guy to do it.
And the driver, can you give me a description?
Right now he's shirtless.
I ran up to him, grabbed him.
He was a little wild. He might be on something.
Had my knee on his back, and he's screaming at me, you know, stop it, it hurts. And here I am just so fired up. Tell him, shut the f up. You're not going anywhere. You're lucky you're still alive. I was waiting to see a gun, a knife of some sort, a weapon. Obviously, this person just committed a pretty big crime, and I wouldn't have been surprised to have seen a gun come out of his pocket.
Oh my God. Okay, hold on. Metro, you on the phone?
Yes, we are.
Yeah,
when you say they're fighting, are they actually hitting each other, or are they arguing?
That's not the problem. It's these people under a car.
Soot and ashes on everybody. It was like we were reliving 911, but it was in Vegas.
It came out of nowhere. A car plows into a crowded Vegas restaurant patio at lunchtime.
It was literally like being in a war area. And the sound was glass and people screaming and the revving of a motor.
The patio was full and there was children there. We began to pray, not for ourselves, but it was for the victims that was under the car and the people that was on the patio, that there would be no deaths.
And then it was like at a blink, EMS was coming in, the fire department had come in.
It looked like a bomb scene, some kind of explosion or something like that. We yelled at everyone, hey, if you're not part of this, get out of the scene so we can start assessing exactly what we have going on. It was pure chaos.
4 people are trapped under the car, 3 of them from one family, the Guzmans. Jose, his sister Connie, and his 16-year-old nephew, Eric.
I'm basically pinned, seeing my whole family splattered, just everywhere, covered in blood. My nephew, he's all the way underneath. And then I seen my sister. She was at the very end of the car, flat out, all the way underneath.
Eric!
She just was screaming and screaming, and I was just telling her, I'm right here, we're right here with you.
Help!
My sister Beatrice is just screaming hysterically. She was like honestly going in circles.
The 4 other family members escaped the car's path, but not the injuries from the shattered glass and debris.
You don't realize how you're gonna lose everybody in the matter of seconds.
The only way to free the victims is to lift the car, but it's unstable.
It had taken out the support column for the mansard, the overhang of the building. At any second, that mansard could fall down on top of us.
One wrong move and the 4 victims, along with the first responders, will all be crushed. Every second counts.
My adrenaline was going crazy. Everybody's was. We knew that no matter what, we had to get them out from underneath that car. Anytime someone lifted something, everyone yelled out to make sure that everyone knew. We were in sync with each other, and we were lifting little by little.
I don't know how that whole front did not completely come down. Definitely a miracle.
One by one, they removed the victims.
There were several ambulances that literally had their beds lined up on a sidewalk. And as they got a patient, they would throw them on a bed and take them to a trauma center.
10 people in total are injured, 7 of them from one family, the Guzmans. The 18-year-old driver is not injured and is arrested at the scene. At University Medical Center, Dr. John Fildes prepares the trauma team for the flood of patients.
When we have this many admissions coming in, we try to set up a separate team for each patient.
One by one, victim after victim arrives. 16-year-old Eric, 4-year-old Alex, 11-year-old Gabby, 35-year-old Beatriz, 24-year-old Jose, and his 40-year-old sister, Connie.
Connie, I'm Dr. Fildes. We're going to take care of you.
I'm like the air traffic controller. I've got to have my head on a swivel and know what's happening with each one.
Connie,
it's kind of like a symphony of chaos.
I'm going to need to order some fentanyl and...
The victims who were trapped under the car are a big concern, especially Connie.
Clavicle is for sure. We're going to need x-rays and CAT scans, please. Can someone order that up?
She was pretty badly banged up. She had a broken collarbone. We saw rib fractures on the first chest x-ray and also some smaller fractures in her spine. Pretty obvious was this broken ankle that she had.
Okay.
It was clear that was going to have to be repaired surgically.
That wound, please, nurse. Yeah, thank you.
Connie's brother Jose was also trapped.
Connie, we've got
His left leg was pinned beneath the car.
I'd like to have ortho come down and consult, please.
I'm hearing my sister in pain. I'm hearing her scream. I'm hearing the doctors, you know, they're saying, we need to get her quiet. Okay. I'm trying to scream like, my sister, she has a medical condition.
6 months earlier, Connie nearly died from a rare disease that attacked her brain and spine. Antireceptor encephalitis is an autoimmune disease. Antibodies attack nerve cells in the brain, causing brain swelling. It's potentially fatal, but in Connie's case, it left her mentally unstable.
Can you hear me, Connie? Pupils are equal and responsive. Is Dr. Rosen
My sister just started walking again. To see my sister back in a hospital bed.
Connie, you're doing great. Your brother's here.
It was horrible, horrible to see my sister like that.
Can you feel that your brother is here? We need to push.
Me and my sisters were really tight. Connie, she's the middle sister, and she's the tough one. She's the one who always, you know, tries to have everybody. She's the backbone of the family. You know, break my leg, break my ankle, break my collarbone, break my ribs. Because I don't want my sister to go through that pain.
Connie, do you remember?
No, I would have took all that any day.
Despite being pinned beneath a 3,000-pound car, Jose suffers only cuts and bruises. He's released along with his nephew Eric. He suffered minor burns. Alex, Gabby, and Beatriz have minor cuts and bruises and are released as well. And then a shocking realization by the family. No one knows what's happened to 64-year-old Alberta.
So as soon as I got released, where's mom, where's mom?
The crash at the Egg and I restaurant makes headlines all over Las Vegas. Shocking news for the Guzman family members who weren't at the lunch.
Excuse me, can you tell me where the emergency is, please?
I was scared out of my mind. I didn't know what to think.
Teresa learns her mother, Alberta, was sent to Sunrise Hospital.
Her clothes were right there on top of her hospital bed. And I picked up the bag, and the bag was like full of blood. Oh, it was horrible.
Alberta has a deep gash in her leg and 3 broken ribs.
I couldn't breathe. I mean, it was hurting so bad, my ribs. And I couldn't move because of my leg. That's all I could remember, because whatever they gave me, I must have went to sleep. When I woke up,
My daughter Teresa was telling me, everything's okay, Mom. And I asked about Connie.
Those faces right now?
Back at UMC, scans show her daughter, Connie, didn't suffer any brain injuries, but her shattered right ankle needs surgery.
She broke the shin bone down by the ankle in 2 spots, one on the inside and then in the back. And then she also broke the fibular bone, little outside bone, as well. So that created an ankle joint that can move every which way.
The first thing we said is which ankle, and that's when we were just like, her good leg, her good leg.
It's the one leg not ravaged by nerve damage from the rare autoimmune disease she suffered 6 months earlier. Connie could end up in a wheelchair for the rest of her life if surgeons can't fix her left ankle.
Can you hear me, Connie?
The encephalitis that damaged her brain could hinder her recovery.
A person in that condition is less able to follow postoperative instructions and rehabilitation. She would have a harder time obeying the instructions to stay off the ankle. It puts more pressure on me to ensure that she has a good result on the right because that is her only leg to stand on. You have to get to the bone. That can be actually the most complicated part because you want to make sure you don't damage anything like tendons, nerves, blood vessels.
Please, thank you.
Expose the bone so we could just look inside of the ankle where the joint is and wash that out because sometimes there can be little pieces of bone floating around and that can be a problem.
Perfect, thank you.
Then reduce it, put the 2 pieces back together where they started before she broke it.
The surgery goes well, and 3 days after an out-of-control car smashed into the patio of a Vegas restaurant, Connie is released from UMC and heads to a rehab center in Bakersfield. Connie has recovered from her physical injuries. Mentally, though, she still has a way to go. At the Egg and I, there's no trace of that accident. And boulders now provide diners protection from the traffic. The driver of the car that plowed through the restaurant, 20-year-old Gage Lindsay, pleads guilty to felony DUI causing bodily harm and receives 6 to 20 years in prison.
You hurt my family. You hurt innocent people.
The Guzmans are remarkably resilient. Connie's ankle healed, and everyone still loves Vegas, and Jose still eats at the Egg and I.
There is still good people out there.
Are you all right?
People were taking care of my family. Everybody is working together. You have to look out for each other.
The fire department, the paramedics, Sunrise, UMC, everybody was just awesome. I'm just grateful I have my family. There's no price for that. Somebody was looking after us, but we just don't eat in patios no more. We don't even eat close to the windows.
Vegas. It's a whirlwind of slot machines, gaming tables, people, and traffic. Traffic that can grind you down if you're trying to get to Vegas or trying to leave.
Everybody's in a hurry. Now the big bunch of cars, and everybody wants to pass. Everybody wants to be in the front. You get a lot of accidents because of that.
Ventriloquist Michelle LaFong is on the I-95 on her way to a gig in Laughlin, a mini Vegas 100 miles south of the Strip.
Putting words in people's mouths is the best thing about ventriloquism. I love throwing my voice in places that people would never expect. Like, I can't even get another gynecologist appointment.
Your name? Johnny Martin. Martin. How you feel? No good? No good, no?
Since 1993, Michelle has carved out a living performing in the lounges, theaters, and nightclubs of the Vegas scene.
No. Stop. Stop some more. Boy, are my parents proud of me right now.
This gig at the Flamingo in Laughlin takes her out of town for 3 months.
When you're a performer, the hardest part is being on the road. It's not the performance that's hard. Having to pack, make sure you have everything. And then in my case, with all the props and puppets, there's so much to keep track of. Oh my gosh, did I forget Johnny? Did I forget Pedro? Did I forget Paco? You there?
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah.
Okay, so don't forget.
You have to put yourself into a different light to be able to be a great ventriloquist. They're all a little crazy.
I had just gotten married 3 weeks prior, and we had just bought a beautiful home. I didn't even have a chance to settle in and go into Laughlin and living in a hotel room again. It just wasn't something that I was thrilled to be doing.
But the show must go on. And to pass the time, Michelle rehearses the act with her puppets.
The show opens the next day, and we're not gonna have a whole lot of time to rehearse, and I never feel prepared enough. So I'm like, let's run through everything. This is Paco.
That's right. My name used to be Raul.
A half hour into the drive, she gets stuck behind a semi on the 2-lane highway.
I didn't realize how slow this semi was going. You're allowed to pass. And I don't know how long that's gonna last.
Let's get going.
And I start accelerating, and this the trailer never ended. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I see a car coming this way, also at like 80 miles an hour. He was coming fast. I had nowhere to go. So all of a sudden, I thought, get over on his shoulder. I gun it, and it would have worked, except the guy coming at me did the same exact thing.
911, police, fire, medical.
Got the call late in the afternoon, and it came in as a head-on.
Head-ons are often fatal. 2 fire engines and an ambulance from the Clark County Fire Department, plus Mercy Air, head to the scene.
We heard that there was somebody trapped, so we had automatically sent the heavy rescue.
Everything went in total slow motion. I had no idea I was hurt. It didn't register that I couldn't get out of the car.
Oh my God, lady, are you all right?
This guy asked me if there was somebody I would like him to call for me.
Hello.
All she says to me is, I've been in an accident, you gotta come get me. I've gotta make it to my gig. The car's crashed, okay, not a problem. I mean, she sounds okay.
But rescuers arrive to a completely different picture. A mangled mess of metal and debris. No one is going anywhere soon.
When I pulled up and saw the damage to the car, I thought, boy, this isn't good. The car was just completely demolished.
A head-on collision on a Vegas highway has ventriloquist Michelle Lafong trapped inside her car. The jaws of life are the only way to save her.
She was trapped in there pretty good. They start prying the door open. Her legs were pinned down underneath between the gas pedal and the brake pedal.
Okay, we're gonna be taking you out now.
The steering wheel was putting pressure on her chest, which would put pressure on her diaphragm. She's trying to breathe. She's trying to worry about not getting to work. She was even asking if people in the other car were okay. A lot of times, your patient goes downhill really quick, and sometimes you don't get them back.
Yeah, coming up. Okay, we're almost done.
We had a collar on her. We had oxygen on her. We had IVs started, which gives her her fluid. We scoop her right over and lay her right on the gurney, and she goes right into the helicopter.
Michelle is taken to University Medical Center. The other driver is removed from his vehicle and airlifted to the hospital as well. By the time Michelle's husband arrives, all that remains is debris and her precious puppets.
I knew how much they meant to her. Just the personal value to her. They were her whole life. These aren't just store-bought items. These are things that she's had custom-made, personally made. They are irreplaceable.
Facility about 7 minutes out, and bagging currently at this moment. Vital signs for you are heart rate 85 sign.
25 minutes later, Michelle arrives at UMC, where the trauma team is standing by.
All right, guys. Wayne, can you get this?
Hey, Doc. What do you got? A 30-year-old female involved in a head-on collision.
Okay, on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Foot fractures.
Michelle, there's some obvious trauma here.
Her legs are in bad shape.
We're gonna need X-ray, CT. Can you call Dr. Monroe?
The CAT scan shows she's fractured a rib and both her feet are broken. Her right foot is the worst. The heel is completely shattered.
Her feet were a mess. She had a lot of swelling. She had a lot of pain. The description of an eggshell that was crushed is a good description for the heel bone or the calcaneus because it is a broad, round bone. So when you break it, you actually crush it and it explodes or flattens out. That's when we decided that we would stabilize these initially and come back and fix them surgically at a later date.
They place a pin in Michelle's foot and decide to wait for the swelling to go down. But 48 hours later, Michelle takes a turn for the worse, and it has nothing to do with her heel.
I could not talk, and I was very weak, and I was very, very sore.
Michelle was very quiet, like she couldn't get words out.
The doctors came in and they said, let's get her in ICU right now.
A fractured rib from the crash has punctured one of her lungs.
You have to think about the chest and the lung as a box with a balloon inside. Let's say someone sticks a needle through the box, through the balloon. The air in the balloon escapes into the space between the balloon and the box. And as the balloon gets smaller, then there's no air getting into the patient's lungs. There's no air getting into the blood, no oxygen distributing around the body.
Michelle is put on life support.
You just need to take the work away from the patient. Let them rest, let the lung heal, conserve their energy.
It was traumatic because you go every day and you wonder, what shape is she going to be in?
You just don't know what to do. That's all you can do is sit around and wait. It's a helpless feeling.
Finally, Michelle is breathing on her own. The other driver is not so lucky. He suffers complications and dies in the hospital from his injuries. The swelling in Michelle's feet has come down, and now Dr. Monroe can begin repairing them. Her left foot will heal on its own in a cast, but the right one needs to be completely rebuilt if Michelle is ever going to walk again.
I said to my surgical team that we've got a difficult project ahead of us here. There's not a good approach through the skin to get to the calcaneus so I can see everything I need to see to put it back together.
Clamp.
Dr. Monroe uses screws and wires to reassemble Michelle's ankle joint like a jigsaw puzzle.
We want to get the length and height of the heel back to where it was before, and we want to fix the joint so the joint's well aligned so the patient doesn't develop arthritis early. So we have specially designed plates with screws that allow us to secure the fixation and hold the bone in its normal anatomic position until it heals.
But this puzzle is missing pieces. Fragments of bone pulverized in the crash.
We fill those small areas with bone graft. The bone graft fills the void and provides some stabilization, but it also helps this heal quicker.
It will be 6 to 8 weeks before Dr. Monroe will know if the surgery was successful.
I knew we could get her to walk, but the question is, how well will she walk?
They were telling me I would be in a wheelchair for a long time, and Dr. Monroe made a big deal about how I better not fall either, because if I fall, I'm gonna ruin his surgery, and you only get one shot at it.
But 2 months later, the follow-up with Dr. Monroe doesn't go well. Michelle has developed arthritis in her foot like she was warned, and it's a game changer.
You ruined my surgery! And I'm like, what are you talking about? You have broken pins. You fell on your foot. I told you, if you fall on your foot, that's it. You're done. I said, well, okay, I fell out of my wheelchair twice. Okay, after my husband pushed me. No, I'm kidding. I'm certain I did not. But he says I did, so I guess I did. Now I have arthritis, just like everything he said would happen, so I'm in pain for the rest of my life. I'm screwed.
What's the matter? Headache? Yes. Pain? Yes. Fever? I don't know.
I had to reinvent myself, basically, because I couldn't do the road anymore because of all my aches and pains.
She's given up her stand-up comedy with the puppets for a sit-down radio show about what else? Celebrities in Vegas.
How do I introduce Kato Kalin? Russell Peters.
That's me.
I wanted to know. I really like my life now. I mean, great things have come of it. I really feel that this is a second chance.
It's you. You're not that.
To do what I'm supposed to do. Whatever I was doing, that wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. And nobody wanted me on the road anymore, frankly.